Well, let's return now to our top story here on RT. As US troops prepare to leave Iraq, thousands of private security contractors are heading to the country, and one of them is the world's most notorious security company, known as Blackwater. Well, let's get more perspective on the story from Puneet Dhaliwal from the group War on Want, campaigning for justice and human rights in countries across the world. Given Blackwater's murky past in Iraq, which includes alleged manslaughter and weapons smuggling, how likely is it to get new contracts in the country?
Well, it's actually looking quite likely. They're very, they were banned from Iraq after the incident in 2007, September 16th, 2007, when 17 Iraqi civilians were killed through a shooting by Blackwater. But more and more, as the company has tried to rebrand itself and to really, change its image in some way, it's really looking to make inroads again into Iraq. And with troop withdrawals, we're looking at a situation where private military and security companies, PMSEs, are likely to play an increasingly important role. And that can be quite very worrying. Yeah.
So you're suggesting that this rebranding is merely superficial? The company, in a sense, stays exactly how it was in the past?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen this before. This is actually nothing new, because in 2009, when they rebranded themselves from Blackwater to XE Systems, that was again a move to try and distance itself from its past and from its tarnished reputation. Yet even as late as 2009, there were Blackwater contractors who were involved and engaged with activities that resulted in the death of Afghan and Iraqi civilians. So it's not something that they've made any real changes in their operations as such. It really is just a very cosmetic change, and I think we should see it for what it is.
But with the US troops set to leave Iraq very shortly, surely there is a need to fill that security gap?
Well, I mean, it's one thing to say that there needs to be stability in that kind of area, but these companies face a situation where they really there's no accountability for the way they act. So we can say that there needs to be stability and security and so on, but it doesn't mean that we need to, the solution is these private military and security companies that kill innocent civilians, unarmed civilians. It simply is something that needs to be regulated properly.
But do you think that company, though, after all the negative media it's getting, would actually make the same sort of mistake again if it is given the chance, and clearly a very lucrative contract at that, to go back into Iraq?
Well, I think it's important here to look at this as not just an issue of Blackwater. Obviously, Blackwater is one company that we look at and it's made headlines and so on. But this is symptomatic of an entire industry that faces no serious regulation. It's not simply an issue of one company or a few bad eggs here and there. It is systemic. This industry faces no serious restrictions on its
are you talking about, in effect here, then, this what appears to be a growth of private armies being used by nation-states in foreign wars?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of outsourcing from countries engaged in conflicts, and that allows them to shift the moral responsibility away from them and onto private companies, where there simply isn't that kind of scrutiny that there would be from conventional armies, and that's very problematic.
What about the attitude of the Iraqi people? We've seen many Iraqis celebrating the US troops departing from their country. What do you think their attitude will be towards companies like Blackwater?
Well, as I said, Iraq banned Blackwater. So
sure, over those specific incidents. But do you think these people will be more welcome than we've seen the welcome for US combat troops in the past, for example, where there definitely has been obviously a lot of tension?
I don't necessarily think there would be any more welcome, because these private military security companies constitute a real threat to the security of Iraqi and Afghani civilians. It's not something that there is a real sense that they're providing security in a material, concrete sense for them. I think they're not providing anything that would give comfort to civilians in those countries.
Puneet, it's great to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you very much indeed for joining us live there in London. Puneet Dhaliwal from the group War on Want, campaigning for justice and human rights. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts.
Thanks.